Spring is here and soon it will be time to plant. I had hundreds of plants to grow from seed this year. Unfortunately, this was my workspace. In today's video, we're getting this space under control and starting the first seeds of the 2026 garden. Let's go. First, let's assess the mess. Every year, I think this is the year I'm going to stay on top of it. This is the worst part because it's the part of the basement I use the most. So there's stuff everywhere. I never put away my seeds from last year, and it's pure chaos. That half of the basement is actually mostly fine. We just use it for storage, and those systems are working pretty well. So we're gonna need to tidy up a little bit, but it's really not too bad. It's mostly just this half of chaos. Okay. I'm overwhelmed. Hi, you're gonna chew on the garlic stalks, and I can't have you doing that right now. You can stay down here if you don't eat anything. That's the deal. All right. Step one, clear the floor. What's making this so overwhelming is it's impossible to move. And most of the stuff on the floor is actually not that hard to get rid of. I'm going to start with this garlic. It's so silly that this is here. We've just been coming down here and pulling bulbs off the end of these enormous stalks, which is completely unnecessary. So I'm just going to snip this garlic, get rid of the stalks, and store the bulbs upstairs. I should definitely have clippers for this and snip these cleanly, but I can't find a pair, and our garden shed is all the way at the back of our yard, and it's currently like 12 degrees out with 8 inches of snow in our yard. So we're just going to manhandle these and snap the stem. And that's messy, and that's fine because it still works. So that took 2 minutes. It's actually ridiculous that these have been sitting here for months. Also, I feel pretty proud of us that we have this much garlic left over in February. Now, we didn't plant any this year, but still pretty proud that we managed to grow enough to last probably until we would harvest.
There's all our gloves.
So now that the floor is clear, it's time to deal with this disaster of a potting bench. This was an explosion of chaos, so I spent a bunch of time tidying up here, but that's kind of boring. So here's the sped up highlights. And now the bench is clean and I have space for the dreaded task of reorganizing my seed inventory. What are you doing? This is not helping the situation. She's so far back in there. Delta, come here. Is the novelty worn off and now you're bored? Keeping my seeds organized is something I fail to do every year until spring rolls around and I need to use them again. Then I hurriedly organize as quick as I can to find the ones I need and start all over. So this year, I'm sitting down and doing a complete, thorough organizing and purging of my seed inventory so I can make sure to use what I have and order more of what I need. So I've decided to purge my seed situation. I have lots of seeds in here that I got 4 to 5 years ago. and germination rate is now going to start plummeting. So I don't want to totally waste these seeds. Chances are they're probably not going to germinate very well anyway, but I'm going to set them aside and I'm going to sow them all this year, which might be insane, but that's what we're going to do. Everything's organized for veggies and flowers. And this is the giant pile of things that are expiring, which is crazy. Most of them don't have very many seeds in them, but yeah, this is a problem. So don't know where we're gonna put all this if it does germinate, but there's only one way to find out. So stay tuned for that. So now that I've got this organized, now I'm gonna sit down and write a list of everything I want to grow this year for drying and selling, and check and see actually how many seeds are in the envelopes, because it was too much to try to do that all at the same time. It also might depend on how much of that germinates, whether or not I need to reorder a couple things for here. Now that everything's organized, I can finally start sowing seeds. But first, we're doing something super exciting. We're growing mushrooms. So today we're inoculating a grain bag with mushroom culture. First, I'm sanitizing everything with isopropyl alcohol because we want to make sure the only fungus we are growing is the one we intend to. Then I'm using this syringe full of mushroom culture with a fresh sterile needle on it, and after a final sanitizing of the self-healing injection port, courtesy of Greg, I'm injecting 5 milliliters of liquid culture into this grain bag. Then we just have to wait 4 weeks for that culture to grow in the grain bag, and we'll move on to the next step of growing these lion's mane mushrooms. Now back to our regular seed sowing activities. I start by pressing my soil blocks using my Ladbroke soil blocker. I am making the smallest size blocks for this because chances are a bunch of the seeds I'm sowing today won't germinate, so I don't want to waste too much soil on this. I'll pot up whatever germinates into bigger blocks later. Today I'm sowing a bunch of onions, celery, and some herbs. Once the seeds are sown, I'm labeling trays, sprinkling with vermiculite, covering with a humidity dome, and it's under the grow lights they go. Thanks for tuning in, friends. Hit subscribe to watch my 2026 garden grow. Until next time.